Hey everyone, this is a throwaway account for reasons that will soon become obvious. My name is Mike, and I've never really been into sharing personal stories online, but here I am. I guess I just need to vent, and maybe some of you will have advice for me. So here goes. My life took a sharp turn on the 1st of December. The news I had been dreading finally came through. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors were kind but straightforward, and I appreciated their honesty. They told me I had a few months left, a year at best if I responded well to treatment. But let's face it, I've had a good run, and I'm at peace with what's coming. I've got my affairs in order, and I've made sure that my loved ones will be taken care of. What I wasn't prepared for, though, was what I found when I went home to break the news to my wife, Jane. Jane and I have been married for over 20 years. We met in our 30s, both of us already well established in our careers. She was, and still is, a stunning woman. Even now, at almost 60, she's kept herself in incredible shape. I've always admired her beauty and her dedication to maintaining it. We've had our ups and downs like any couple, but I always thought we were solid. That afternoon, I decided to head home early from the doctor's appointment. I wanted to tell Jane in person about my diagnosis. This isn't the sort of news you deliver over the phone. When I pulled up to the house, I noticed a car in the driveway that I recognized all too well, my business partner's flashy sports car with its personalized license plate. My heart sank. Why was he here? I tried to ignore the sinking feeling in my gut as I let myself into the house. The living room was empty, but there were 2 wine glasses on the coffee table and a half-empty bottle of red. I called out for Jane, but there was no answer. That's when I noticed our home camera system was set to privacy mode, which we never use unless we have guests over who are uncomfortable being recorded. I walked over to my office and pulled up the secondary security system I had installed a few years back. This one wasn't accessible via our phones. It was purely for my own peace of mind, a backup that stored footage locally. I quickly found the recordings from earlier in the day, and sure enough, there they were. Jane and my business partner, John, snuggling on the couch, drinking wine, and then heading upstairs. My stomach churned as I watched them dance around like teenagers before disappearing into our bedroom. I didn't need to see anymore. I closed the laptop and sat there in stunned silence. It felt like my entire world was collapsing. How long had this been going on? Why hadn't I seen the signs? Maybe I had, but I'd been too wrapped up in my own world, in my work, and lately, in my health issues to notice. With the limited time I have left, I knew I needed answers, but I didn't want the drama of a confrontation or a messy divorce. I called my lawyer and told him everything. We reviewed my will and the prenup Jane and I had signed before our marriage. I needed to make sure she wouldn't get more than she deserved. I also wanted to know just how long this affair had been going on and how deep it ran. My lawyer, a sharp and discreet man, promised to start investigating immediately. Meanwhile, I made a decision. I wasn't going to ruin the holidays for my family. Christmas was always a big deal for us. We'd spend a week at our farm, cutting down a tree, decorating, cooking, playing, and just being together. This year, more than ever, I wanted it to be special. I wanted to give my kids and grandkids one last holiday memory with me, without the shadow of my illness and Jane's betrayal hanging over it. So I put on my best fake smile and prepared to face the holidays as if nothing was wrong. I retired from my nonprofit job, telling everyone it was time to focus on my health and spend more time with family. Jane seemed a bit uncomfortable with my sudden decision, probably because she knew it meant I'd be around more often. But she didn't say much, just smiled and told me it was a good idea. In the weeks leading up to Christmas, I noticed Jane was more secretive than usual. She guarded her phone closely, stepped out of the room to take calls, and made excuses to leave the house for errands that seemed to take longer than necessary. I played along, asking about her plans for the day, and then making my own plans to be conveniently elsewhere when she needed to slip away. I felt like a spy in my own home, but I needed to gather as much information as I could without tipping her off. When Christmas week finally arrived, our whole family gathered at the farm. Sarah, my ex and the mother of my twins, was there with her husband Steve. My twins, now in their 40s, brought their kids, and the house was filled with laughter, chatter, and the smells of holiday cooking. I cherished every moment, knowing it would be my last holiday with them. Jane played her part well, acting like the doting wife, but I could see the strain in her eyes. She stepped outside for air frequently, probably to check her phone and stay in touch with John. At one point, she made an excuse to run into town alone, but one of the grandkids wanted to go with her. Watching her squirm and come up with excuses not to take him was almost amusing. She ended up not going at all, claiming she'd forgotten what she needed. The week went by in a blur of activities and traditions. We cut down a tree, decorated it with old ornaments, cooked up a storm, and played games late into the night. I tried to soak it all in, imprint these moments on my memory. There was a bittersweetness to it all, knowing this was my last time. After New Year's, once everyone had left, I met with my lawyer. He had dug up quite a bit of information. Jane and John's affair had been going on for almost a year. They had taken several trips together, using business as a cover. John, a widower, had no one to answer to, but Jane. I still couldn't wrap my head around how she had managed to deceive me for so long. My lawyer had already drawn up divorce papers, based on our prenup and the evidence of her affair. Jane would get nothing but a portion of our shared assets, housewares and furniture. I'd keep all my liquid assets, retirement funds, and personal property. I had no intention of dragging this out. I just wanted it over with. The day I planned to confront Jane, I arranged for our usual date night at a quiet restaurant. I had my lawyer and his wife at a nearby table, ready to witness the signing of documents. I told our server, who knew us well, to expect some drama and handed her a generous tip in advance. Jane seemed oblivious as we chatted over dinner, reminiscing about our years together. She gushed about how wonderful our relationship was and how much she loved our life. I felt a pang of sadness, but mostly anger. How could she lie so easily? After dessert, I took a deep breath and began. I told her about my diagnosis first, watching the shock and sorrow flood her eyes. Then I told her about the affair, how I knew everything. Her face went white and she started to protest, but I held up my hand to stop her. I explained that I wasn't interested in excuses or explanations. I handed her the letter my lawyer had prepared, asking her not to contact me or my family, and passed her the briefcase with the evidence and divorce papers. I signed the letter in front of our server and lawyer, who witnessed it. Then I stood up, told her I was done, and walked out. I drove back to the farm, feeling a strange mix of relief and sorrow. My son and his wife met me there, and I told them everything. They were shocked but supportive. We spent the evening talking, and I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Now, as I sit here watching the sun set over the farm, I feel at peace. The holidays were perfect, and I've done what I needed to do. Jane will get what she deserves, and my family will be protected. I don't know how much time I have left, but I plan to spend it with the people who truly matter. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'll keep you updated as things progress, but for now, I just need to focus on enjoying the time I have left. If you have any advice or just words of support, I'd really appreciate it. Hey everyone, I'm back. Thanks for all the support and advice. It means more than you know. Here's what's happened since my last update. After the confrontation at the restaurant, Jane went to stay with a friend. I don't know what she told her, and honestly, I don't care. I had to focus on myself and my family. The farm became my sanctuary. My son and his wife stayed with me for a few days, making sure I was okay. It felt strange having people fuss over me, but I appreciated it. I needed their presence more than I realized. Life on the farm started to settle into a new routine. My daughter Sarah and her husband Steve visited often, bringing the grandkids along. We had a few quiet dinners where we talked about everything but Jane. It was an unspoken agreement to keep things light and focus on making memories. One morning, about a week after Jane moved out, my lawyer called with some news. Jane had finally signed the divorce papers. It was a bittersweet moment. Part of me had hoped she would fight for us, show some remorse, something, but she didn't. She just signed the papers and disappeared from my life. I guess that made it easier in a way, knowing she was truly gone. My lawyer also had some interesting information about John. Turns out he had a history of affairs with married women. His last relationship ended when the woman's husband found out and nearly beat him to a pulp. I guess I was lucky I only hit him once. The thought of Jane being just another notch on his bedpost made my blood boil, but I tried to let it go. I needed to focus on what mattered, my health and my family. Christmas came and went, and we all tried to find some normalcy. The grandkids kept asking where Grandma Jane was, and I didn't have the heart to tell them the truth. I just said she was traveling for work. Kids accept the simplest explanations and they moved on quickly. As the new year began, I had a serious talk with Sarah and Steve. I told them about my diagnosis and my decision not to pursue treatment. They were devastated, but they understood. We spent hours talking about the future, the farm, and my wishes for after I was gone. It was hard, but it felt good to have everything out in the open. One day, out of the blue, Jane showed up at the farm. I hadn't seen or heard from her since that night at the restaurant. She looked different, more tired and worn out. She asked if we could talk, and against my better judgment, I agreed. We sat on the porch, the same porch where we had shared so many memories. Jane started crying, apologizing for everything. She said she had made a terrible mistake and wanted to make things right. I listened, but my heart was hardened. Her words felt empty after all the lies and betrayal. Mike, I was so stupid. I let myself get caught up in the excitement and the attention. John made me feel young and desirable again, but it was all a lie. He was just using me, she said, tears streaming down her face. I took a deep breath. Jane, I don't doubt that you feel sorry now, but it's too late. You broke my trust, and that's something I can't get back. I have a few months left, and I want to spend them in peace, not dealing with the aftermath of your affair. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Please, Mike, just give me a chance. Let me take care of you. I owe you that much, she pleaded. I shook my head. No, Jane. I've already made arrangements. My family is here for me. You need to move on with your life. We're done. She cried harder, but I stood firm. I had to. After a while, she left, and I felt a strange sense of relief. It was truly over. In the weeks that followed, I focused on making the most of my time. I spent every moment I could with my family, making memories and cherishing the little things. Sarah and Steve helped me organize a few trips with the grandkids. Nothing big, just day trips to the beach or the zoo. The kids loved it, and their laughter was the best medicine. I also started working on a legacy project with my lawyer and accountant. I wanted to make sure the farm stayed in the family and that my grandkids would be taken care of. It gave me a sense of purpose, something to focus on besides my illness. One evening, as the sun was setting, my son and I sat on the porch sipping on some whiskey. It was a quiet moment, one of those times where words weren't necessary. Finally, he broke the silence. Dad, I've been thinking about everything. You've always been there for us, and I want you to know we're here for you too. Whatever you need, we'll make it happen, he said, his voice steady. I nodded, feeling a lump in my throat. I know, son. I appreciate it more than you'll ever know. Just promise me you'll keep the farm running and take care of each other. He smiled, a bit of the old mischief in his eyes. You got it, Dad. We'll make you proud. The next day, Jane's friend Carol came by. She and Jane had been close for years, and I always liked her. Carol was one of the few who knew the whole story. She had been there for Jane when things fell apart, but she never took sides. When she arrived, she had a determined look on her face. Mike, I know you don't want to see Jane, but she's a mess. She can't eat, can't sleep. She's not the same person, Carol said, her voice full of concern. I sighed. Carol, I appreciate your concern, but there's nothing I can do. She made her choices. Carol nodded, but I could see she wasn't giving up. Just think about it, okay? Maybe she needs closure. Maybe you both do. After she left, I thought about what she said. Closure. Maybe that was what we both needed. I decided to write Jane a letter, something to put my thoughts and feelings into words. It wasn't easy, but it felt right. Dear Jane, I've thought a lot about what you said when you came to the farm. I understand that you're sorry and that you want to make things right. But the truth is, I can't go back to what we had. Too much has happened, and I need to focus on the time I have left. I forgive you, but I can't forget what you did. I hope you find peace and happiness in your life. Please respect my wishes and let me spend my final days in peace with my family. Take care, Mike. I sent the letter off, hoping it would give her the closure she needed. For me, it felt like a weight had been lifted. I had said my piece and could move on. As the weeks passed, my health continued to decline. I was getting weaker, but I was determined to stay on the farm as long as possible. The kids and grandkids visited often, filling the house with noise and laughter. It was exactly what I needed. One night, as I lay in bed, I felt a sense of contentment wash over me. Despite everything that had happened, I was surrounded by love. I had made peace with my past and my future, and that, I realized, was more than enough. Thanks for sticking with me through all of this. Your support has meant the world to me. I'll keep you updated as best as I can. Take care, everyone. Hey, everyone, it's me again. Thanks for all the kind words and support. Here's what's been happening since my last update. The weeks kept slipping by faster than I could keep track. My health was deteriorating more rapidly than I'd expected. My energy waned, and I found myself struggling to do even the simplest tasks around the farm. It was frustrating, but I was determined to make the most of the time I had left. One day, as I was sitting on the porch enjoying the rare winter sunlight, my son came out with a serious look on his face. He pulled up a chair and sat down next to me. "Dad, we need to talk," he said, his voice steady but filled with concern. I sighed, already sensing where this was going. "All right, son, what's on your mind?" "We've been talking, all of us," he began, glancing towards the house where the rest of the family was. "We think it's time you had some full-time help. You've been doing a great job, but we're worried about you." I could see the genuine worry in his eyes, and as much as I hated to admit it, he was right. I nodded slowly. "I know you're right. I've been feeling it too. Do you have someone in mind?" He nodded. "We've hired a home healthcare worker. Her name's Lisa. She comes highly recommended, and she's experienced with hospice care. We want you to be as comfortable as possible." I felt a mixture of relief and resignation. "All right, let's give it a try." Lisa started the following week. She was a warm, friendly woman in her early 40s, with a reassuring presence and a knack for making people feel at ease. She settled into the household quickly, seamlessly integrating herself into our routines. I was initially hesitant about having someone fuss over me, but Lisa had a way of making it feel less like an intrusion and more like a partnership. One afternoon, as Lisa and I sat in the living room, she asked if there was anything special I wanted to do. "Mike, I know you've got limited time, but if there's something on your bucket list, let's make it happen." I thought about it for a moment. I've always wanted to go fishing with my grandkids. We used to do it when they were little, but we haven't gone in years. Lisa smiled. "That sounds perfect. Let's plan a trip." A week later, we all piled into the car and drove to a nearby lake. The grandkids were excited, chattering away about the fish they were going to catch. We spent the day casting lines, telling stories, and laughing. It was one of the best days I'd had in a long time. The kids caught a few fish, and even though I didn't catch any, it didn't matter. Being with them was enough. After we got back from the trip, I started working on something I'd been putting off, writing letters to my family. I wanted to leave them with something tangible, something they could hold on to after I was gone. It was harder than I expected, finding the right words to say goodbye. "Dear Sarah, you've always been the rock of this family. Your strength and resilience have been an inspiration to me. I'm so proud of the woman you've become. Take care of your brother and cherish the memories we've made. I love you more than words can say. Dad." Writing to my son was just as challenging. "Dear Michael, you've grown into an incredible man. Your kindness and dedication to our family have meant everything to me. Keep the farm running and pass on our traditions. I'll always be with you in spirit. I love you, son. Dad." I wrote similar letters to each of my grandkids, trying to impart some wisdom and let them know how much they meant to me. It was a cathartic process, and by the time I finished, I felt a sense of peace. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the farm, Jane showed up again. She looked even more worn out than the last time. Her eyes were red and puffy, and she seemed almost frail. "Mike, please, I need to talk to you," she pleaded, standing on the porch. I took a deep breath and nodded. "All right, Jane, come inside." We sat in the living room, the silence stretching between us like a chasm. Finally, she spoke. "I know I've hurt you in ways I can never take back. I've been so lost without you, and I realize now what I threw away," she said, her voice trembling. I looked at her, feeling a mixture of sadness and frustration. "Jane, I've moved on. I've made peace with what happened. I'm focusing on the time I have left and the people who matter to me. You need to find a way to do the same." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I know, Mike. I just wanted you to know that I'm truly sorry. For everything." There was nothing left to say. I stood up and walked her to the door. "Take care of yourself, Jane." After she left, I felt a sense of finality. It was the closure I hadn't realized I needed. I went back inside where my family was gathered, and I felt a renewed sense of purpose. As the weeks turned into months, my health continued to decline. Lisa was a constant presence, providing care and comfort. My family was always around, filling the house with love and laughter. I spent my days reminiscing, telling stories, and enjoying the simple pleasures, like watching the sunrise, listening to the birds and feeling the warmth of a hug. One night as I lay in bed, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Despite everything, I was surrounded by love. I had faced betrayal and heartbreak, but I had also experienced forgiveness and healing. My family was my greatest blessing, and their support gave me the strength to face whatever came next. Thanks for sticking with me through this journey. Your words of encouragement and support have meant the world to me. As my time draws near, I find comfort in knowing that I've made the most of the moments I had left. Take care of yourselves and cherish the time you have with your loved ones. Life is short, but it's also incredibly beautiful. One morning, I woke up feeling weaker than usual. Lisa was by my side, her expression calm but serious. She gently took my hand. "Mike, it's time to call your family." I nodded, understanding the unspoken message. It was time. Lisa made the calls, and within an hour, everyone was there. Sarah, Steve, Michael, and the grandkids. They gathered around my bed, their faces filled with love and concern. "Dad, we're here," Sarah said softly, holding my hand. I looked around at their faces, each one etched with worry and sadness, but also with a strength that gave me comfort. "I love you all so much," I whispered, my voice weak. "We love you too, Dad," Michael said, his voice breaking. We spent the day together, sharing stories, laughing through the tears, and holding each other close. It was exactly how I wanted it to be, a day filled with love and togetherness. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the room, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. "Remember the good times," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Take care of each other." With their hands holding mine, I closed my eyes, feeling the love and warmth of my family surrounding me. My journey was coming to an end, but their journey was just beginning, and I knew they would be okay. Thanks for listening, everyone. This is the end of my story, but it's not the end for my family. They have each other, and they have the strength to carry on. Take care of yourselves and cherish every moment. Life is a gift, and it's meant to be lived fully. This will be my final update. I wanted to share the last chapter of my journey with you all. Thank you for your incredible support and kind words. They've meant more than you'll ever know. As the days grew shorter, my health continued to decline. I spent most of my time resting, surrounded by my family. Every moment was precious, and I tried to savor each one. The grandkids brought their drawings and stories, filling the house with their infectious laughter. Sarah and Michael took turns staying with me, making sure I was never alone. One evening, as I lay in bed, Sarah sat beside me holding my hand. "Dad, do you remember the camping trip we took when Michael and I were kids? The one where we got lost in the woods?" I smiled, a faint memory of that adventure surfacing. "How could I forget? You were both so scared, but you kept each other calm. I knew then that you'd always be there for each other." Sarah laughed softly. "We were terrified, but you made it into an adventure. You always knew how to make us feel safe." "That was my job," I said, squeezing her hand gently. "And you two have done the same for me these past few months." She leaned in and kissed my forehead. "We love you, Dad. We'll always be here for you." As the days passed, I found myself reflecting more on my life. I thought about the good times and the bad, the mistakes I'd made, and the lessons I'd learned. One evening, while the family was gathered in the living room, I asked Michael to bring me my old photo albums. We spent hours flipping through the pages, reminiscing about the past. Each photo brought back a flood of memories: family vacations, birthdays, holidays, and simple moments of joy. It was a bittersweet journey through time, but it reminded me of how full and rich my life had been. One night, as I lay in bed, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. My journey was nearing its end, but I knew I had made the most of the time I had left. I had mended old wounds, created new memories, and ensured that my family would be taken care of. "Mike, it's time," Lisa said gently, her eyes filled with compassion. I nodded, understanding what she meant. It was time to say my final goodbyes. I asked her to gather the family. When everyone was assembled around my bed, I looked at each of their faces, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and love. "I want you all to know how much you mean to me," I began, my voice weak but steady. "You've given me a life filled with love, laughter, and meaning. I couldn't have asked for more." Tears streamed down their faces as they listened. "Sarah, Michael, you two have been my rock. Take care of each other and the family. Keep the farm running and pass on our traditions to the next generation." "We will, Dad," Michael said, his voice choked with emotion. "We promise." I turned to the grandkids who were standing close by, their eyes wide with sadness. "Remember, you are loved more than you can imagine. Be kind to each other, and always follow your dreams." They nodded, their small hands clutching mine. "We love you, Grandpa," they whispered. With everyone gathered around, I closed my eyes, feeling the warmth of their love surrounding me. I had said my goodbyes and I was ready to let go. As I took my final breath, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I was leaving this world knowing I was loved and that my family would carry on my legacy. Hey everyone, this is Sarah. My dad asked me to share his final message with you all. He passed away peacefully, surrounded by his loved ones. His last days were filled with love, laughter, and cherished memories. Dad wanted to thank each of you for your support and kindness. Your words gave him strength and comfort during his final months. He often spoke about the impact you all had on him and how grateful he was for this community. As we move forward without him, we find solace in the memories he left us and the love he instilled in each of us. We'll keep his spirit alive by continuing the traditions he cherished and by supporting one another through the challenges ahead. Thank you for being a part of Dad's journey. Your support meant the world to him and to us. Take care of yourselves and cherish the moments you have with your loved ones. Life is precious and fleeting, but it's the love we share that gives it meaning. Goodbye, and thank you. As we adjusted to life without Dad, the farm became a place of healing and remembrance. We honored his memory by continuing the traditions he loved. Each holiday, we gathered as a family, sharing stories and laughter, keeping his spirit alive in our hearts. Michael and I took over the farm, determined to keep it running just as Dad had. It wasn't easy, but we felt his presence guiding us. The grandkids often helped out, learning the ropes and becoming a part of the legacy Dad had built. One day, as I was going through some of Dad's old belongings, I found a letter addressed to me. With trembling hands, I opened it and began to read. "Dear Sarah, if you're reading this, it means I've moved on to the next chapter of my journey. I want you to know how proud I am of you and Michael. You've both become incredible people, and I have no doubt you'll continue to make me proud. Take care of the farm and each other. Keep the traditions alive and pass them on to the next generation. Remember, the love and memories we share are the most important things in life. I'll always be with you, watching over you and cheering you on. Be strong, be kind, and live life to the fullest. With all my love, Dad." Tears streamed down my face as I read his words. It was as if he was right there with me, offering comfort and encouragement. I folded the letter carefully and placed it in a special box, knowing it would be a source of strength for me in the years to come. Life went on, and we faced our challenges and triumphs with the same resilience Dad had shown us. The farm flourished, and the grandkids grew up, carrying on the traditions and values Dad had instilled in us. One evening, as the sun set over the farm, Michael and I sat on the porch, just as we had with Dad. We watched the sky turn shades of pink and orange, feeling a sense of peace and gratitude. "Do you think Dad would be proud of us?" Michael asked, his voice filled with emotion. I smiled, squeezing his hand. "I know he would be. We've honored his memory in the best way possible, by living our lives with love, kindness, and resilience. He'd be proud of us, Michael. He always was." As the sun dipped below the horizon, we sat in silence, feeling Dad's presence with us. He had left us a legacy of love and strength, and we were determined to carry it forward. Thank you for being a part of our journey and for supporting Dad through his final months. Your kindness and compassion made a difference in his life and ours. Take care of yourselves and cherish the moments you have with your loved ones. Life is a precious gift, and it's the love we share that makes it truly meaningful. Goodbye, and thank you.